I now request Mr. Hemant Bharat, the President of DCM Textiles Limited, to make a presentation, after which we will throw it open to the audience for a question and answer session.
I have a very simple presentation to make, which I just made up really quickly yesterday, but it has I think the most root and basic points that we need to address at the state level for at least textile investments. Oops. So we've been talking about ease of doing business, but I think the only one state, Jharkhand, addressed the issue of cost of doing business. So, and what I've been discovering is that we are, globally not competitive on the services that states provide, because states provide monopolistic services like water, power. They determine wages, at least the minimum wage, etc. So this is just a slide showing India's export growth. And as you can see, that we are growing at around 6-point-something%, whereas all the competing countries are growing much faster. And in fact, Vietnam and Bangladesh are almost at the level of India. So it is a telling, these are telling numbers. I mean, with a country the size of India, why should we be worrying about Vietnam and Bangladesh? I mean, it is honestly surprising. So let me just mention the base factors that as a manufacturer impact my cost. These are A costs, A-level costs. Of course, there are very nice things that state governments are doing in terms of, making things easier, like single window clearance, etc. But beyond that, my everyday bread and butter is determined by basic costs, which are costs of electricity, cost of logistics, and infrastructural constraints. Here is a slide on electrical power costs, and the India number is an average number. It is not specific to any state. Some are cheaper, some are more expensive. But if you look at the power cost in Texas, which we just took out, we are about double of a US power cost. If electricity costs is between 50 to 25% higher in India than in any competing country, and hence, and since this is a state level issue, the states may consider looking at these issues. Let me look at cost of fuel, diesel. Again, we are 15 to 30% higher in our country than most competing countries. Now, with 30% higher basic costs, 40% higher basic costs, it is difficult to compete. And that is reflected in the growth that we have seen of Indian exports, and also domestic manufacturing. This was just a time of moving goods. We were benchmarking China with India. You can see the difference in the number of days. 1,500 kilometers in China we cover in 3 days. In India we cover in 8 days on average. This means this is inventory lying in a truck somewhere or in some container for which we are paying costs. Mandi fees. Now, our mandis are grossly inefficient. We need to improve, if we are being charged fees on mandis, to improve the functioning of mandis, the way storage is done, the way trading is done, so that they are adding value in terms of at least procurement of cotton. So, positive steps that have been taken by states. I have interacted with several states. The single window system now introduced by many states, which is a good thing. Monetary incentives have been mentioned in the various policies that have been presented by states, which have definitely encouraged investment, and there is a competition among states, which is a very healthy thing. And also I've noticed that they've started retaining the big 4 consulting firms. So I've dealt actually with ENY and some other firms in multiple states, which are assisting the states in bringing in investment to them. So my sort of advice or my sort of recommendation to states is that by addressing some of the basic cost of doing business issues, they can attract, of course, higher textile investment. And this will also lead to higher hiring of unskilled and semi-skilled labor, which is what manufacturing absorbs as opposed to services, leading to a higher per capita income, higher in-state consumption, and higher tax collection. Because one of the views I have heard is that when exports are taking place or out-of-state consumption is taking place, the state earns nothing. But GST being a destination tax, the only way the state can earn is if the consumption happens in-state. And consumption can happen in-state if the per capita income of the residents of the state goes up. And that will happen, obviously, when higher employment and, attracting people to live in that state. So with that, I wanted to go through it very quickly, but it's a very simple, basic point, and thank you very much.